Survivor's ready. Go!
Travis spoken.
Boston Rob and Amber are gonna do it.
This is a business trip, as I like to say.
You Brad Culpepper.
I'm tired of you and the fucking chicken.
You can call me the puppet master. They can be my little puppets.
It's not like you're making me deal with the devil here.
You get to milk your own milk, I guess.
We got enough rocks here, too. We could build a pretty decent shelter just using rocks.
I'm supposed to talk loud.
Direct from Hobart, it's time for the only survival podcast in Australia dedicated to Survivor. Bringing you today's interviews, episodes, and opinions from the greatest reality show on the planet. It's Survivor Oz, and here's your host.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Survivor Oz, Australia's 486th favourite podcast. We're back for another episode, and a special episode this time, because the reboot has kind of turned into like a crossover almost. So we're the Caleb Reynolds this week. We're crossing over between shows because it's an Oztopsy and an Ozlet show. If that's what is that what they call Colin? An Ozlet show, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not involved in that.
You don't even listen.
I don't care. I only care when it's things with me on it, of course. Sarcasm. Well, kind of. No. Yeah, so because of time restraints, it's an Oztopsy and it's an Ozlet show. We both cover the same episode, and sometimes they come out at the same time, so this was probably long overdue for us to do one joint. So normally it's just me and Colin. It's supposed to be me and Ben, but Ben ditched us. It's been me and Colin, and of course a lot of other people have been joining on the Ozlet show, but we've got 4 people this week. Starting with the person who is playing me, Colin. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here for the crossover. I can't wait for
the big event.
Survivor Oz Age of Ultron coming soon.
Which character would you be on that?
I'm totally going to be Captain America, but Canadian, so we have to continue changing things up. Captain Canada here.
Captain Canada?
Yeah.
I think that alliteration is too cute to be a superhero.
I politely tell you to stop destroying the world.
Oh, hey, stop that. Oh, come on, fellas. Stop it. Worst Canadian accent ever.
Bulgarian or something.
Stop that. I am Captain Canada from Bulgaria. All the Bulgaria listeners are going to be writing and say, that's not a Bulgarian accent, that's a Serbian accent or something, I don't know. Also joining us, he is one of the stars of the Ozlet show. He's been on a few of them, I'm pretty sure. It's Jordan. Jordan, he's back.
Yeah, first time in a while. Thanks for hyping me up as a star of the Ozlet show, I guess.
Don't let it go to your head, Jordan.
Yeah. And I promise not to pour water all over my computer tonight. So.
It's happened to me before, I can say that, because I am a dumbass. The reason I have a new keyboard on my laptop compared to the old laptop may involve water.
I promise not to sabotage the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's what the next guest is surprisingly come on. Maybe it's all about sabotage.
Everybody welcome Kristen Kanar.
Yeah, this next guest, special guest, our second fan of the week, or fan of the every other week that a fan asked to come on. It's our new thing we're implementing. Not something that I've been involved in, mainly because I've been on the Oztopsies. But we had one and it was a success. So we brought another. Let's hope they're not a spy coming to sabotage us. But another fan joining us all the way from the US, I think.
Question mark?
Maybe Canada, I'm not sure. It's Chris Rosenzik. Is that how I say it, Chris?
Yes, you got it. And I was
Welcome
just hoping I could just
Chris.
curse the whole time, so you'd have to edit the whole show.
Yeah.
Well, Colin does that, so go for your life.
Again, let's bring up Kristen Kanar.
So, Chris, I kind of was a bit questioning there, but you're from the US, right?
Yes.
And what state do you happen to reside?
Herndon, Virginia. So, like, East Coast. I'm, like, an hour ahead of Colin, I think.
Huh?
Yeah.
Are there any survivors that hail from Virginia?
Yeah, Johnny Fairplay's from Danville, so we got him. Tracy Hughes Wolf's from Fredericksburg, so that's like closest to me. And I guess there's a couple that like hail from DC. Actually, John Cochran went to Oakton High School, I think, which is like 20 to 30 minutes away from where I went. So I guess winners hail from this area.
Next high school reunion, you got to get him on the show for us.
Well, I was going to say that you're the first person on Survivor Oz from Virginia. Clearly that's false, but you're the most important person from Virginia to be on the show. So, Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself, as in, when did you get into Survivor, and your general thoughts on Survivor. What kind of Survivor fan are you? We're digging deep here.
Well, originally I watched Big Brother on CBS, and I was like super fan of that, and I still am, but it's only on every summer. So I would like watch it on YouTube, and it would always recommend like what Survivor clips I'd want to watch. And I think one of the first ones I watched was when Parvati played the two idols, and for some reason I thought that Survivor was just really complicated, which it is. But I mean, I kind of like, as I've gone back and watched all the seasons, it makes sense to me now. So I watched a few clips, and I really, really got into it. So my mom had this like CBS account, so I could like watch all the seasons back, and I watched nearly all of them. The only one I haven't watched is Redemption Island, which I watched episode 1 of that, and kind of don't want to go back.
Well, if there's one season that you haven't seen,
yeah,
you're doing good.
But I've watched the rest of them, and San Juan del Sur was the first season I watched as it was airing, and I really loved it. I don't know why some people say like they don't like it or something, but I really like that season.
Chris, I am the biggest advocate for San Juan del Sur, so you're on the right show.
Yeah. So now I watch it whenever it's on, and if I'm bored, I'll watch other Survivor or that, and I guess it runs my life, maybe. Well, not really, but it's nice entertainment.
It certainly runs Colin's life. I know that, at least since Ben left us. So, what's better show, Big Brother or Survivor?
Survivor.
Yes, right answer. You're allowed to stay on.
That was a right and wrong answer, by the way. That wasn't an opinion based. Do you have a favourite season of Survivor and a least favourite one? Obviously not Redemption Island for you.
Favorite season? I have to say, I think Micronesia. I mean, Borneo will always have that good nostalgia thing, but I think Micronesia is the most entertaining for me to watch, and it's got Tracy Hughes Wolf from Virginia. So, and least favorite, I don't really think I didn't really like Worlds Apart that much this recent season. Just kind of more negative highlights than I think positive. But I don't think there's really a lot of seasons that I like absolutely despise. It's like pizza.
Yeah.
No. I was waiting for that. What about player? Any favorite player or few favorite players?
I mean, a lot. There's so many to pick from. Party, I think she's always enjoyable. Sandra, best. Some of my favorite confessionals and 2-time winner. I like Hatch. I like one season I also really like is Africa. I don't think I really hear much about that one, but I really like it.
My all-time favorite.
And one of the contestants I really liked was Kelly Goldsmith.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's great.
I thought she was really funny. I thought she had a good grasp on the game, and I wish she got a second chance because she was so screwed over by Lex that season.
I wish T-Bird also got a second chance.
Yes, please,
Still
T-Bird.
angry.
Apparently she got married or something.
Yeah, just on the weekend.
I did see the pictures of that. Congratulations, T-Bird. Mrs. Whatever her last name is now.
And for anybody who wants to hear T-Bird's opinions on not coming back a second time, listen to last week's recap because we talked about it.
It hurts too much to listen. I can't do it. I don't know. I'm trying to think of just the most random Survivor question to ask you. What did you think when Maddie Whitmore proposed to his girlfriend, Chris?
It's cute.
Are they still married? I'm not sure. I don't think anyone's heard from Maddie Whitmore in a while. What are your thoughts on Kaoh Rong so far? Besides, obviously, this episode, which we're going to dive into, but just as a general, are you enjoying this season? Hating it? Middle?
I really like it. I think it's been very unpredictable. I really like those seasons where it's kind of the blind sides going back and forth between different sides. I guess you maybe go into it later, but like the Super Idol definitely has an effect on it. But overall, I've really liked the quality of it. I've loved the blind sides, and I've liked the editing. I don't think there's few people that are kind of off to the sidelines, in my opinion. I mean, there's like a couple, but for the most part, I feel like it's been pretty solid.
It's definitely been one of the more evened edits that we've had in a few years, which is good. You mentioned the Super Idol. I have to say, I've been seeing a lot of hate for the Super Idol, but I really like the idea of the Super Idol just because I think it's brought a lot to the season. I don't know if we would have seen a Ty-Jason alliance if it wasn't for the Super Idol, but a lot of people have been hating on the Super Idol. So I guess we'll maybe get everyone's thoughts here, but are you pro or anti-Super Idol, Chris? Obviously it hasn't played out to its full effect yet.
I mean, I feel I'm more leaning on anti because in the past, like when we had it in Panama and Cook Islands, I guess it kind of got discarded or edited like the way Yao Men did it his season, because it was too powerful. And I kind of feel like to bring it back, it kind of adds that layer that I felt people were against it in the first place. And I think for this season particularly, it's actually kind of opened a door for the Jason Scott Ty alliance, because the last chance they really had to flush that aisle out was with the 9-person, like a 3-3-3 and then a 3-2-1. So from this point on, they really don't have a choice but to either vote for them and then let the idol play out and then get whoever they want to, or they just kind of have to let them steamroll because they can't really do much about it.
What I like about it is, I see the comparisons to the Terry and the Yule and the Tyler Perry idol. But what I like about this is Jason could be begging Ty for the idol, and Ty could just say, you know what? It's in my best interest if you go at Final 6 because it's making me one spot closer to the Final 3. I'm not giving you the idol. I'm playing my idol for myself at Final 5. That's just an example. That's what I like about it is it's more of a wild card. Like the Terry, Yule, Tony one. Literally, if they got voted out, it's literally like a non-elimination week of The Amazing Race. It's literally, you're not going. There is a potential they still go home. Just quick thoughts, Jordan, because we've got a lot to cover, but thoughts on the Super Idol. Anti, pro, whatever?
I think the main drama, the main purpose of the Super Idol, at least for me, was to see, if two people could come together, figure out who has an idol, who else has an idol, and see if they can, hook up with each other. Not in that way, but like...
Whoa, this really is a Super Idol.
But yeah, just make an alliance and something like a pair like Ty and Jason, like you said, would never come together in alliance. Like, I don't think, unless they were just on the same tribe and they needed numbers. But now that it's happened, it's like, back to Terry and Yule and the Tyler Perry idol with Tony. Now it's overpowered and looks like I think the impact of the idol is going to show now. My favorite part what, like I said, is just to see if there's two people who can share the information and get together. But now that it's happened, it's really, for me, it's back to, just trying to see if people could figure out a way to flush that idol, and back to strategy and whatever. I was pro the super idol before, just for the see if people could get together and use it. But now that it's happened, I'm anti.
Colin, what do you think?
I'm kind of with everybody else. I think that the interesting thing about the Super Idol is that it is forcing people to work together, and we've had so many seasons where there's always 2 or 3 idols floating around at the exact same time, and it just makes things too complicated and too hard to follow. And I like the idea that there's still some sacrifice with using this. If it was just a super-powered idol, then, well, a player's invincible. But the fact is, you have to, in order to use it, you have to convince somebody else to basically give up their idol. And in this case, you have to have 2 people agreeing, well, we're going to sacrifice our idols and create this super idol. And then you have to deal with, well, which one of us are we going to give it to? There's still some drama that you could have out of this, and I think it's such a complicated type of stipulation that there's no telling. I mean, maybe there's things we haven't even considered where it can or can't. Maybe it can't be shared. Maybe they can't trade it back and forth. Maybe it is with tie from this point on. But I like that we had a big twist that actually played out properly. This isn't like the advantages from the last few seasons or the super idols from Cook Islands and Panama and everything. We're seeing something happen with this, and it's something we haven't seen before. So I also don't think that this is going to be something where we're going to be stuck with the same people being invincible till the end of the game, because who knows what's going to happen. Is Ty going to use this for his own advantage? Will he at some point have to share this with Scott or Jason because maybe they're in jeopardy? I mean, there's so many different variables that I think that there's still some interesting stuff that could happen with it.
Won't go to everyone with this one, but Colin, would people's opinions on the Super Idol be different if the women had it?
Maybe, although in this season, where I think we've talked at length about how unlikable everybody has been in comparison to some other seasons, I don't know if there are enough players out there with fan bases where anybody's going to be 100% happy. It definitely is a bit of a negative that it's going towards these less popular characters on the show, but at the same time, Ty is still, I guess, the most popular of that group. Definitely not the best player, which is another thing that maybe makes it a little bit more interesting to me, is that we have Ty, a guy who's a complete wild card. You have no clue what he's going to do from one week to the next. Maybe he could just screw this whole thing up, and that'll just make it
I think
epic.
Everyone's a wild card.
Everybody, yeah. I mean, with the exception of maybe one.
Debbie was
players.
voted out this week.
Yeah.
No.
By screaming again. So, yeah, poor Debbie. We'll get to her. Let's talk about this episode, because I enjoyed it. I thought the sabotage stuff was great TV. I have to say, I'm probably alone in this, but I'm not enjoying this season as much in the post-merge. I do think this will go down as a better pre-merge season. And there are those seasons that are better pre-merge seasons than post-merge. I personally think this will be one of them. Even though the alliance is shifting, I don't know, I'm just not as enjoying it. And I do think after Debbie's gone, this season will take a hit. But it was a solid week. I thought there was good drama at the camps and at both of the challenges, and there was a lot going on, so I enjoyed it. Just quick wrap around, only couple sentences, either you liked it or you didn't like it, because we've got a lot to cover. But Chris, did you like this week and the post-merge, I guess?
Post-merge so far, I've enjoyed it, and this episode I was very entertained throughout.
Jordan?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Noah. The pre-merge was way better than the post-merge so far, especially with the Neil anticlimactic medevac. But this episode, I disagree with you in that that you don't like the season. This episode, I think, just average in terms of Survivor episodes all around, and I think it continues the trend that the post-merge is not as it's not going to be as compelling, I don't think, as pre-merge, because the pre-merge was really good this season.
I am enjoying this season. I just think, I don't know, a lot of people thinking it's just getting better and better and better. I just personally enjoyed more of the pre, but I'm enjoying this much better than something like a Worlds Apart.
I don't think it's gotten better since the merge. I just think it's kind of leveled off.
Yeah, it's just kind of taking a step down, but it's still good. Colin?
Yeah, the pre-merge stuff was the best, which is very unusual in Survivor, to have everything up to the merge be so good and everything after that to really be a lot less interesting. But I think that it was taking a downward turn for a few weeks, and this week's episode definitely was an improvement for me, even though I don't think it did any favors for selling a winner on this season. It's kind of making everybody look just a little bit foolish. But there was a lot of entertainment in this episode, and I think the thing that sets it apart for me, I'm going to probably reference it several times, but this was like Nicaragua's entire season summed up in one episode. And at the same time, we've had a lot of Worlds Apart in here, but the difference is these people aren't taking it personally. So when we had all the sabotage stuff, it could have just been something like Nicaragua or Worlds Apart, where everybody just starts arguing and yelling and it's just negative. And instead, it's almost comical to watch things just not work out. So I enjoyed this one a lot more than the last few weeks.
Yeah, especially the Tribal Council. I was watching this in my university library, and I was getting a bit worked up. The Tribal Council probably got a few weird looks. But let's just talk about the challenges quickly, because I never like talking about the challenges. If you listen to this show, you would know that about me. Screw the reward. What's with the takeaway rewards this season? First we had ice cream at camp. Now we're having Chinese take in Cambodia at camp. What happened to the luxurious Angkor Wat temples and stuff like that?
I know. One thing I was thinking was, why are they giving them rice as a reward?
Yeah, who?
Although Ty did get his noodles, so he's been wanting noodles apparently.
And Scott was very adamant to making sure that Mark the chicken was part of the reward with them. So I guess it was 10 people now.
Yeah.
In the tribe.
Yeah, Mark the chicken. Where's that confessional? But yeah, maybe they, obviously this was filmed before Second Chance, but maybe they wanted to save the budget for Second Chance. So all the rewards this season are just takeaway at camp. But yeah, we had the reward challenges, throw things at things, and the immunity challenge, put things on things. Post-merge challenges nowadays and so on, it's just not my thing. But I really did enjoy the at the reward challenge where they kind of separated them by the two alliances. Although I feel like if they did a random draw, it may have given them more potential for potential switch ups, and like this person's with him, so they're going to talk strategy. But I think it was a great moment, and I have such a bipolar relationship with Joe, but I loved Grouchy Joe this week. And I thought it was a really good decision for him to say, you know what, I'm not going to play in the challenge, because that meant he wasn't forced to switch over. He automatically picked the girls, so he's showing his loyalty. And he's probably going to be a liability more than anything, so he's helping their chances of winning. So I thought Grouchy Joe did a good decision there. But obviously the guys plus Julia win the Chinese takeaway and the chicken. And then the immunity challenge, Julia can't win, cut the challenge, Julia wins. Typical Survivor editing. So Chris, quick thoughts on the challenges, anything of note there? Obviously the switching them at the reward challenge was the main thing, really.
Yeah, I like when the challenges kind of intertwine with the strategy. Like usually it's kind of like a cutaway and you get, just a nice little tidbit. But I think to kind of have it intertwined with how people were playing the game this week, I think it got people more invested in it. And I mean, I like to watch when they, jump over things and they get scratched up and they're all, just crazy. I mean, I enjoy those parts. And as far as the immunity challenge, I don't think we've ever had this many people doing that domino challenge at the same time. So it felt like it could have been anybody's game with that one. And just for Julia to win it and just kind of thwart that plan, it just made it all the more interesting. So I thought they were good challenges, not the best part, I would say, of an episode. Usually when the strategy gets crazy for me, that's the favorite. But I thought they were good. I thought they were well intertwined with the episode.
And Debbie was so close to winning that challenge as well. When you said it was back and forth, definitely devastated when that didn't happen. Colin, we don't talk challenges much on the Oztopsy, but what have you got to add?
The reason we don't talk it is because I don't remember them usually, but I remember
you don't watch them.
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes I fast forward them. But I do remember the immunity one this week, and I think this is another example of where the story being told in the challenge is more interesting than the challenge, like the previous episode with Ty and Sydney's battle over two people who didn't need immunity, and it still ended up being really tense. And this one, the fact that you knew Julia was probably going to be gone, and you knew that the Super Idol was out there. I mean, there was a lot of questions as to who could potentially go home. And the dominoes, I mean, this is more tense than holding a ball on a platform. So for any type of challenges, I think I would prefer something like this, at least switching it up every once in a while, because there was a lot of, like, when I'm watching them walking through, I'm really tense that something's going to fall, even if it's a player I don't want to win immunity, like Julia. But the way it all worked out, I mean, I don't think we would have had as good of an episode if just some random person like Michelle wins immunity, or even if Debbie does win immunity. I don't think we get as good of an episode. So I'm happy with how the episode turned out because of the challenge.
I would have been fine with Debbie getting immunity and Julia going home. Just putting it out there.
Oh, agreed.
Jordan challenges.
I really liked how they determined the teams in the reward challenge. Just to kind of illustrate the alliances and have somebody have to join the three guys that, the girls don't like, just to have one of the girls join them for the challenge. And, Joe sitting out, I think that's a really good move for him. I mean, I would sit out. It was like 110 degrees doing a challenge that probably lasts for a half an hour and is probably really tiring, although this one's not tiring. But just to sit out of any challenge and have a chance at reward, like, I would do that too. With the immunity challenge, I actually thought it was kind of difficult because there's more chances to trip up and send the dominoes, or at least some of them, off the platform or whatever it was, the line, whatever platform, I guess. And
we'll go with platform.
Yeah. And Scott, had no chance because his feet are enormous, and I would have no chance because my feet are big too. Not as big as Scott's, but yeah. I think, the people who had the best chance at the end were the women, and I think the placement. I don't want to go too deep into the domino challenge, but they all had to be straight, and the dominoes were just kind of falling off at the sides. So I thought that was a pretty good challenge. Also, yeah, I actually like the challenges in Survivor for the most part. I think the post merge has gotten away from more physical ability and more towards the endurance, and
Yeah.
like you said, like fine motor skills, like with keeping the balls on the platform. But I like the challenges overall.
I'm all for endurance, but they need to mix it up a bit in terms of endurance challenges. And I don't bring back individual rewards. They create way more drama. Anyway,
and it's also got to be. It also has to be tough for the contestants. Like when in Worlds Apart, you had the, holding onto the spool with, with your hands, and then immediately after that, 3 days later, they have to hold on to the rope. So, like, that's got to tire them out.
Yeah.
So,
I'd be falling in immediately at challenges like that. But anyway, that's enough challenge talk for one of the shows I'm on. I've got a cap on challenge talk. It's just, challenges. Anyway, so we kind of just break it into the main segments, I feel. And the main talking point this week was #sabotage. The ghost of Naonka's past is coming back. I love Naonka. Bring Naonka back, even if she is a quitter. I don't care. But this was great TV, no denying it. Brilliant TV, but so cringeworthy. I tweeted out that this was just so cringeworthy, especially because I've been defending Scott on this show for weeks. Oh, that Alicia thing, he was just annoyed with Alicia. Then he ditches the water on their fire in front of everyone after hiding the axes and all that jazz. It was just really cringeworthy, and Scott is not winning this game. Jason probably not either. It just never works. Sabotaging never works out, and I thought Scott was a level-headed player, but this was just really bad to watch in terms of their game, and that's not how you get back at people. You get back at people by forming a new alliance and blindsiding them or voting them out, using your super idol. This is the alliance with the super idol who are doing this. It's not like their backs are completely against the wall. So brilliant TV, and I think my favourite part was Grouchy Joe standing up to Scott, what are you doing? I thought that was great. Really loved Joe this week. And also just how everyone, oh, alright, we'll just get the saw and we'll burn this, and you could see Scott's face. He was just furious. So that was really good. But it was just like, no, you do not get... Even Jatia dumped the rice when they weren't around. Scott did it in front of everyone. So you can't even blame Mark the Chicken for this. So that was that. And then we had a great kind of Ty who was conflicted, and he got up in the middle of the night and he poured water on the fire, but no one caught him, so he's kind of got off there. But
he's evil now.
Yeah, evil Ty is out. But I don't understand the Ty thing. It was a great storyline. Ty is a great character. I like evil Ty emerging. But I'm kind of confused as to why he felt the need to do that. Like, Jason and Scott are not doubting his allegiance to them. It's not like he had to do that for any reason. Because he wasn't involved with the other stuff. I think he may have helped hide the tools or something. But I think, for the most part, they think it's Scott and Jason doing all this. And I still don't think they think Ty is more of a saboteur. And we're seeing in the preview that maybe they're going to try and get Ty. But it was just very confusing as to why Ty felt the need to get up in the middle of the night and pour it out, even if it did make for a great TV moment. But Colin, I'm kind of rambling here. I really enjoyed the sabotage stuff, but it was also super cringy to watch. And yeah, Scott is not winning this game, and maybe I shouldn't have been defending him all this time.
No, I mean, I think that this is the moment. If people go back and rewatch the season, they're going to see this is the moment where Scott lost it. I don't think it's an issue of that he was always this ridiculously dumb player. He just got to this moment where he took it personally, and it got the best of him. The thing that made me laugh the most was how everybody was giving them more credit for this. You think that you know, Sydney and Debbie and everybody would be more upset, and they were giving them more credit than they really deserved. I wrote about this in my Power Rankings this week, that they were saying they're doing this so that we will vote against them because they're going to play an idol. And meanwhile, Scott's like, we want to do this to break them down, so maybe one of them quits. Yeah, and then you'll still be down.
Get to that. I'm going to get to my thoughts on Aubrey, but that was hilarious that Aubrey's like, oh, Scott is not a dumb person. He is doing this so we vote for him.
And had they done that, that would have been brilliant, but that wasn't the thought in their mind. I don't know. Darth Ty, let's call him Darth Ty or something. It's the conflicted Anakin Skywalker, I don't know if I'm going to be a bad guy or a good guy. It really didn't make sense. Like, it just shows how Ty
I don't
is
like
doing...
sand.
Yeah.
It's coarse and rough and gets everywhere.
But yeah, I don't think that Ty really even knew what he was doing. I think that he hears somebody say, it's a good idea if we pour water on the fire. And he's like, I don't understand it, but sure, I'll do it. Why not? Everybody was giving them way more credit than they deserved. And it was hilarious how everybody responded. Again, comparisons to Nicaragua, you know, you had Holly stealing Dan's shoes. You had Nayanka and I think it was Alina who buried stuff in the sand. And
well, I don't know if Alina even did any of it, but she got blamed for it.
Then Jane throwing the water on the fire. I mean, it's basically the role reversals completely. And like in Nicaragua, it was the women who are losing it and just sabotaging everything. And here it's the guys. It's like there's something in the water that only affects one gender on these really crazy seasons or something. But I mean, it was fun TV. It was hilarious how it didn't work out at all. And I loved it. It helped make the episode, especially since nobody really took it personally. Like, yeah, whatever.
Scott can't win. Jason probably not unless he's in a final two with Scott. I think Ty can win. What do you think?
I think if Ty wins, it's kind of an embarrassment to the season because I don't think he knows what he's doing.
The only way, I should preface that, I should say, if the Super Idol plays out and this whole a woman's going to win is just all misdirection and the final three is Scott, Jason, Ty. I should have prefaced it.
Yeah, if that's the case, then this is Fabio all over again and this really is Nicaragua.
I do think he has the storyline as well. Like, if he won, we would look back and say, yeah, you know what, I can see how they built his character storyline from episode 1. Anyway, this isn't the Oztopsy. I'm talking to Colin a lot. Chris, sabotage.
It was entertaining. I enjoyed watching it. In terms of gameplay, like, when Russell did it, he did it behind their back. And his point... And, you know, for Scott, it was just a moment of, you know, emotional rage, anger, whatever you want to call it. And also, as a side note, I know you were saying you like Joe, but for some reason, he was tending the fire those mornings, and they would just go in and just take the stuff, and, like, Joe would be completely oblivious to it. I was like, where is Joe?
He couldn't hear them. It's his hearing aid.
But, yeah, I mean, it's entertaining stuff, and it does make, you know, you always need your villains to have your heroes. But, yeah, it just kind of dashed his plans down. And it kind of, in terms of Ty's sabotage, he's so up and down roller coaster. 1 minute he likes the trees, then he tears them out, and then he's conflicted, and now he's making them suffer, I guess. But I guess it really does kind of pave the way for them to say, you know, at some point Scott and Jason are going to go, I don't think we can take Ty with us. Because you see them getting all the brunt of it, but Ty is, you know, he's doing it, but he's getting off scotch-free. So I think at some point, I think it's going to split that group up. Because I don't think Scott and Jason are loyal enough that they're going to just keep Ty just because he's part of their three. I think they're going to try and just take whoever they think they can beat.
What
so
about
I think
Super Idol, though?
That's true. Super Idol, getting in the way.
Unless they play it and then get rid of Ty, that's a possibility.
It's true. Depends on who the vote goes to. Or they could vote for Ty and then Jason doesn't give the idol.
That would be a sneaky move for them to lose yet another jury vote, but that could work.
Sure, villain. I mean, Scott's already losing his, so might as well just go all the way.
Yeah.
And Ty, if he gets to the end, I think he would have a good chance to win because I don't think he's not vilified yet. So I feel like if he were to get to the end with Scott and Jason, he could win. And I feel like, like if Scott or Jason got to the end with two other people, they're already hated. So I don't think it would work. But I think if Ty got to the end, they would be more accepting to that he was on the outs and he made it against all odds. So I think they would be more open to giving him the win if he made it against them. So Ty could win if he gets there, but I don't think anyone is going to let him get there regardless of whether it's in his alliance or not.
What I love about the Three Guys Alliance is, and we'll get to the Tribal Council, but I love that all the theatrics they went to, and then in the end, their vote really had no impact on what actually happened at Tribal Council, but they were so over the top with everything, and then it was really the girls' plan to vote out Debbie. But Jordan, you said you weren't going to sabotage this podcast, but did you like the sabotage on the show?
I really think it was kind of pointless. It didn't affect anything really. When Jason and Scott thought it was going to change everything around camp, like nothing happened. Like, oh, you need Ty to grab the mangoes, and Scott.
Sydney can climb a tree too, though.
Like, they're just mangoes, right? And the tree is going to run out of mangoes eventually. And they do have other things to eat besides the mangoes. So, and then, and they hid the machete and the axe?
Yeah.
And they still use the saw, and one of them probably has that tool that they used to get the idol. I don't know if that's still around, and they got other stuff, so it changed nothing, I don't think. And now everybody knows who did it. It's like, what was the point of that? I think it was pretty good TV, I suppose, but there's no after effects of the sabotage. It absolutely changed nothing in the game, it seemed like. As far as Ty's chances of winning, I think he's got the super idol now, so as long as he doesn't give it up, he's in the final four. And if he wins immunity at final four, or if there's a final three, he probably will win this game unless he's up against a bitter jury. I don't see that happening, but or people who other people like better than him, and unless I think, yeah, like you said, it's I think Ty is kind of getting a winner's edit, at least from the first episode and some other things that they've shown over the season. But as I think it's less than 50-50 at this point that Ty is going to get to the end. I think it might actually be a final two this season, and that's just my speculation, because if the numbers go down to the finale, it's going to be 4 people in the finale. So hopefully there'll be a final 2. I think final 2 is much better than a final 3. And I think if Ty's in that final 2, he's going to win, especially if the chicken gets a jury vote. But I think...
or the trees.
Yeah, or the trees, right.
Or Sydney's hat.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I would say... I'm just rambling on, but I think Ty has a decent chance to win, especially if he has to get to the end. But he's in the final 4 if he doesn't give up the idol. And if there's a final 3, I think he's got an amazingly good shot to win. If there's a final 2, less so. But those are my thoughts.
could this be the first ever season where no one wins? I don't know who the hell is winning this game.
And also it would make sense for Jeff not hyping up this season if Ty won. It's just not his type of winner.
Partly because Ty is not really even playing a game.
Yeah. It would be like Keith winning. No, I know you'd like to see that.
Oh, I love it. For some reason, Keith Tollefson came to my mind. Why would that be the first?
Oh,
Keith?
no.
He's the worst of all the Keiths.
Didn't we spend a whole season, or I spent a whole season on that?
Yeah, you love Keith Tollefson. So, one scene that I would have liked to have seen, but I guess this comes down to a 42-minute show. I wish we saw the Sydney, Jason, Scott conversation. I want to see what happened with them after, because now it's just assumed, oh yeah, Sydney's with the girls. And we were talking last week, Colin, of, well, I don't think this is locked in. That could have been a one-move thing, and then Sydney's going to go back. But there was nothing. It was just, all right, she's with the girls. I would have liked a little scene, but maybe too much water pouring for them to fit that in. Too many Chinese takeouts. That would have been good. I guess we'll get to the Tribal Council, but we should talk about some of these players. And the one player, which I'm going to lose a lot of listeners right here, I have tried to really enjoy this character, and I know this is probably the most universally beloved character in this season. And I've pretended, oh yeah, she's alright. I'm just going to say it. No more pretending. I'm not an Aubrey fan. I'm just putting it out there. I really am not. I don't think she's playing a good game, although that's not just an Aubrey thing. I don't think any of these 8 people are playing a good game by any chance, although there is still a lot of game to be played, so people can redeem themselves. Natalie Anderson didn't really start getting a big over-the-top edit until around this point, or even after, although she was still playing a different game before that. She's not playing a great game, but her confessionals is, I'm Aubrey and I'm annoyed at the fact that we lost the challenge, and I'm Aubrey and I'm annoyed about Debbie doing this. I'm Aubrey and I'm annoyed that they poured water on the fire. Like, it's just really, she's one of the most negative players I've ever seen, and she's like Jeremy. Jeremy was extremely negative. Except she's not even like over the top or exaggerative. She's just super game body. I get why some people like her because she does represent the fan community, and I feel like I probably would get along.
Yes,
really...
she does. Negative.
Yeah, that is a fair point, and probably represents me right now. I'm being quite negative, although I always am, I guess. But I feel like I probably would get along with Aubrey in real life, but on the show, I'm just not seeing it. I don't think she's playing a great game. She's just really over negative. She's never saying anything positive, and her confessionals are just really... I get why she's getting airtime, because she does give really good, like, narration of what's going on around camp, and she does give good strategy confessionals, so I can definitely appreciate that. But yeah, I'm the only Survivor fan in the world who is not an Aubrey fan. That being said, even though I don't think she's playing a good game, I do think she could win, just because there is so many little, so less chance of anyone winning. Like, who's going to actually win this season? So I would still put her as up there as a potential winner, but it's going to be interesting to see how she gets there. I know I keep jumping to Colin first, but I just need to quickly get your opinion, Colin, only because you're probably been the only person in the world who said that Aubrey has no chance of winning. So I just want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I think
it's you against all the Survivor fans, Colin.
Yeah.
It's going to either go really well for you if she's like gone next week, or you're going to look like an idiot when she wins and everyone else was right.
I think I put her in the same category as Ty right now, in that if she wins, this is the strangest season ever, because none of her plans have worked out. She's been on the right side of a few votes because other people have pulled her along, but
hey, voting out her ally this week worked.
Yeah, that's part of the problem, is that the moves she is making they even have made a point on the show, and this is where I think I'm mostly coming from when I say she can't win the game, because if you're looking at this from the narration of what the show is showing us, Aubrey is being presented to us as a player that when she has ideas, it's constantly being told to us, but this person is your ally, this is your number. And I think it could almost be a way of setting up that she doesn't have a chance of winning a jury vote. She is a more negative player, and I think that that's disappointing, because I honestly believe that Aubrey is one of those players that if you had her in a season without any of these harsh elements or anything like that, Aubrey would be one of the most entertaining characters you've ever seen. But we're just not seeing that. At the same time, I find myself liking her more and more every single week as a character, just because she is a great narrator of the show. And so you follow her and she's on your mind. I mean, we've spent so much time talking about Aubrey, despite the fact that she's not really making any big moves in the game, and the big moves she's making are not necessarily good moves. So I'll probably come out of this season hoping that we get to see her again in a better environment, but I'm still holding the fact that there is no way I can see her story actually translating to this is our winner and this is the edit we're giving her.
I'm so excited for the finale, whether or not it's like Colin was right or everyone shamed Colin. But yeah, there are also people who are very staunch in the fact she's going to win, and I'm not ruling it out. I would put her up as a potential, but there are these little clues of the day one of her kind of being crazy. I wish you could have met me in real life, and then I can never forget when Joe said, "Is this part of your neurosis coming in here, Aubrey?" So people clearly view her as crazy,
including Neil, her biggest ally, who didn't want to give her an idol.
Yeah, and every time someone approaches her, she always got like Nick, and then didn't Scott and Ty do it early on in the pre-merge, and they're like, oh, Aubrey wasn't really very responsive.
Yeah, she's not receptive to any of these ideas.
I think she's one of those players who's just hyper strategic on everything, and it probably gets in her head because she has to logically think through every single, maybe not logically, but she has to think through every single thing, and it really drives her crazy. And I would imagine I would be a similar player. But I'm not ruling her out, but I do think there are a lot of clues to suggest she wouldn't win. Jordan, I'm the only one in the world who doesn't like Aubrey.
Well, I don't dislike Aubrey, even though she's my pony. I really don't. And I don't think she's that great of a dry humor character like Sophie, or because she said she was like Sophie on her bio, but I don't think I wouldn't be surprised if she won, and of course I wouldn't be surprised if she fell flat on her face in final tribal. She was pretty invisible in episodes 2 through 4. So I think, her winner's narrative, if she is the winner, is not that strong. And I don't see the fan love of her either. Like, I don't, I get that she's popular, but if she's universally loved, then I don't agree with that. I do think she's a good character, but she's not like the greatest female character since Sandra. But I would say I'd be surprised if she won. So, I mean, I'm not ruling it out, but she's probably in my top 3 or 4 winners picks, but I just don't see her winning right now.
Doesn't that sum up this entire season?
Yeah. My thoughts could change, but right now she doesn't have a strong enough narrative. The season is being told through her eyes from the post-merge on. Like, at the end of the challenge, oh no, Julia won immunity. What do I do now? It's not like, what do we do now? It's like, what's the best move for me, for Aubrey? So, Yeah.
An interesting confessional stat is that Ty is the only one left in the game who has received a confessional in every single episode. And Ty's probably not going to win, but this will make one of the few recent seasons to have a winner who didn't receive one. Like Natalie Anderson had a few, but Tony and Mike and Denise, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say Cochran, although I'm not 100% sure. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say Tyson, but I'm not 100% sure. They all had confessionals in all their episodes. Maybe this is a woman winner then, because Natalie Anderson didn't, but all the male winners did. But you do have to look at the Caleb episode, which was a really unique Survivor episode. So there's that, which obviously only like 7 or so people had confessionals. But Chris, we have no idea what you think of Aubrey, so lay it on us, Aubrey, as a character, as a player, as me having dumb opinions, whatever you want. Here's your soapbox on Aubrey.
I feel comparing her to the other brains that were in the tribe, I think what gets people attracted to her is that out of all the brains, she always seems the most level-headed. Like, you got Debbie, who's very eccentric. You got Joe, who's always grumpy. You got Neil, who just seems very shy away from the camera. And I feel like people are drawn to her because she seems so realistic as to what people would act like in that environment. And that's kind of why I've been liking her, because I kind of see myself in her when she's talking. Like, she's not over the top. It doesn't look like she's playing to the camera. She just seems like she's being herself as much as she might be miserable. I think in terms of her gameplay, I do think she is game botting, and sometimes game botting works out. But I think in this case, like, once again, because specifically of the Super Idol, the plan has kind of backfired. Because I think in any regular season, if you had these like people with an idol and you thought they were going to play it, then I would kind of give reservations to the idea of taking out Debbie just to flush it. But considering that it's a Super Idol, I feel like it just shot them in the foot, because with a 9-person vote, what they could have done was they could have split the vote 3 to Scott, 3 to Ty, 3 Sydney. And then on a revote, they could have done it as 3 for Scott, 2 for Ty, and then 1 for Sydney. So that if they played the Super Idol, they would have had to play it for, like, say Ty got the 3 votes. Ty would have had to play it for himself, but then the other person who had the other votes would be Scott, who would have 1 more than Sydney would in a revote. So this was really their last chance, so they could have flushed it. And now because they used that to take out Debbie, they've lost a number, and there's no way for them to flush the idol out now. So even though I feel like in a regular season her strategy move could be better, I feel like in this case it really is going to be something that's going to come back and bite her. And in terms of her winning, I do think she has this underdog edit, but I feel like it's one because she's had a lot of things like a Spencer where she has things she's doing but they don't really work out. I feel like it's kind of setting her up to be close to the end, but no cigar. I feel like she'll make it very far, but she may be like last member of the jury, or she'll make it to finale episode and be like 5th place, depending on if our finale is like final 3 or final 2. So I feel has potential, but I don't think she's going to win.
I know that in Debbie's Ponderosa, she said that she would not vote for Aubrey at the end after that blindside. Obviously, it all depends on who she would be sitting next to, but she's probably more likely to vote for Joe over Aubrey. I was kind of anti the move that she made, although the one defense I could say for them is maybe they didn't know about the Super Idol, its exact powers.
I don't think they knew, because the whole episode they were talking, Aubrey was talking about, oh, they might have an idol, but they never said anything about a Super Idol, which is kind of odd considering that Ty, gets so much attention in the edit for saying that at Tribal Council, but it's really had no effect, period.
The whole Julia thing really did throw a wrench in the plan, but I just... there was not a lot they could do, and obviously this was a good move for Sydney because she saved herself. So you can definitely make that argument. But it felt like Aubrey had a choice of either taking a small risk with the idols or voting out a surefire person. But now she's down a number. And the other thing that she had this confessional, Debbie is going to take us out one by one. Debbie is going to the final three with Aubrey and Joe. That's what really got me is that, yes, Debbie is a wild card when her mouth is too big and she says, no, I'm voting for this person. But Joe also does the whole, no, I'm voting for this person. If you change, then that's when bad things happen. Don't change, Aubrey, don't change. So Grouchy Joe also does that. Debbie, she is kooky and she sticks her foot in the mouth, but that's also great as a goat. And you cannot argue at this point that it's too early to be talking about goats because we've got like 4 episodes left or something. And the alliances are set in stone. So yeah, she was kind of backed into a corner because Julia was playing both sides, which we'll get to Julia. Because...
Oh, please let us get to Julia. I have some opinions.
Oh, I'm very excited for that. But it was just, yeah, I was not pro this move on Aubrey's behalf, only because it's not like she's voting out Michelle, where, yeah, me and Michelle, we're kind of in an alliance, but she's closer to Julia or Sydney. It was one of closest her allies who's the most loyal to her. It was just, they should have been thinking about doing my mind has just lost what it's even. A split vote. And just taking a bit of a risk on what's going to happen with the idols. I don't know. Chris, do you have anything more to... You kind of brought up the Aubrey move, and that was one thing I was going to touch on. I kind of said my piece, but I don't know. Voting out your closest ally, well, one of your closest and most loyal allies, and keeping the 3 guys and 2 idols. Of course, she didn't know there was 2 idols in that alliance, but keeping 2 idols, which can form a super idol, compared to last week, the end of this week, Aubrey's not sitting pretty in a good position.
Yeah, I think if they'd known that it was a super idol, I think the episode would have taken a different turn. I think if Julia knew it was a super idol, I don't think she would have been as keen to flipping now or trying to entertain the idea of it. But, they didn't, and it's just kind of the way it went. So, I mean, I pretty much touched on it. I don't think it's going to be a good move. I think it's going to backfire. I don't think it counts them out, but, they're not in a good position. And I think I'm anticipating that once we go into the next episode, it's probably going to be Aubrey saying, oh, my God, I just made the dumbest move I could have made in that moment. And we're going to get more underdog Aubrey.
Well, she even said, I think it was last week, I just keep making mistake after mistake. But then I see a lot of people saying, oh, she keep making these brilliant moves, she's in control. I feel like she's one of those players, and I probably would be similar to this too, is that she feels like she has to make some sort of move every time, rather than just going with the thing. She has to, if I can't vote out Julia, I'm voting out Debbie. Again, the idols was such a sticky situation because they didn't know who had it, and it could have backfired with the Julia thing. Colin, the Aubrey vote, but of course I need to get your thoughts on... I've got some thoughts on Julia, but that tease was too good to not let you really go at it on Julia, as well as the Aubrey move.
All right. Well, for the Aubrey move, it is very tough because of the idols. I mean... You also don't really know what it's like to deal with somebody like Debbie because she was so adamant. She actually said they don't have an idol, when in reality they had 2 idols. It's just there might be some people where it's very hard to deal with them, but that doesn't necessarily mean...
they've got Abby Maria to 5th and 6th on 2 seasons.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. Maybe there's another move where you just keep her out of the vote and bring her back in next week, because there's very little chance that she's going to want to side with Ty and Scott and Jason. So there was probably another move where you didn't cut out your biggest ally and you kept them around, because I think Aubrey did cost herself a vote there, and we still don't know if Aubrey even has Neil as a vote from the end. If a lot of this talk about the idol is true, Neil wasn't really rooting for Aubrey either, from what we understand. So
and she's probably not getting Nick's vote.
yeah, and Nick too. I mean, it's looking. I completely agree with you. I can't remember if I wrote this in my power rankings this week or not, but I was at one point starting to write, and I may have deleted it, but I was starting to write the exact same thing, that she's almost more so much of a fan that she's more interested in making moves because that's what makes the game interesting. Very similar to like the way that Malcolm played the game before. She wants to make big moves because it's good TV, and that's what you do in Survivor without thinking, is this the best move? If you really want to win, sometimes you have to play a boring game. And, Danny is the biggest example of that, of how that could pay off.
Danny wins Guatemala.
Danny wins Guatemala. Spoiler. Nobody. I hope you saw it, Chris.
I did.
Good. We don't want to get in trouble.
You know who wins Redemption Island, Chris?
I do. I've seen the like fast facts and stuff.
Yeah.
The fast facts are enough.
Yeah.
That's the most enjoyable way to finish
I
that
have
season.
seen Pheromone though, so I can give opinions on like Francesca, Andrea, and Philip and stuff.
Oh.
So,
Well,
but this is about Kaoh.
Yeah, which again, very similar to Caramon, like I said, with the Malcolm and the Three Amigos. I mean, it seems like it's the same thing with Ty and Scott and Jason this week. I don't know if this group of people is really playing the game or if they're playing good TV here. But I mean, it's working for good TV regardless. Let me move on to Julia now.
Here we go.
Okay, so to start with, she says that it's in her best interest to get close to these guys, which, yes, that could work, but her rationalization behind it's the same thing with the sabotage. It's her reasoning makes no sense. She said, these guys have betrayed everybody. No, they haven't. They haven't betrayed a single person this season. They had Sydney turn on them. Other than that, every person that they voted for, they pretty much told they were voting for. I mean, Alicia, they said, we are voting you out. You can't say they've betrayed everybody. You could claim, they're kind of jerks and people don't like them. But that's not what she said. She said they have betrayed everybody, which they haven't. And what she would be doing by going with them is being the one person who's betraying everybody. She will be the one betraying everybody. And the idea she has that it's good to go with them, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to go from being in the bottom of a 6-person alliance to being in the bottom of a 4-person alliance. I mean, the math doesn't even check out. I don't understand anything that Julia is doing. And just like the whole sabotage thing, there is a way that she could make the exact same moves and it would be smart for her game, but she's not thinking that way. She's thinking completely wrong, and it's almost painful to listen to her try to back up her moves.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, this episode she shot any chance of winning, I think, in the foot. But it's kind of like, I feel like she's maybe trying to be an Albert, where she doesn't want to piss off anyone and she wants everyone's jury vote. So, like, Albert was like that. He was really flaky and he was really nice to all the people he was about to vote out. And I feel like that's what she's trying to do. She's playing both sides because she doesn't want to piss people off. But it's kind of bizarre that, and I think I wrote this in my power rankings, Julia is now 4th in an alliance full of men, or she's now 4th in an alliance full of women and Joe, or 5th. What would have been a better move is vote out. Vote out Scott, vote out Jason, then at final 6 or 7, get with Ty and Michelle and Sydney and say, these 3 brains, they're still in the game. Mm-hmm. Let's then make a new foursome and vote them out. Not at, final 9, she's playing both sides. That's going to be a surefire way to get to the final 3, but it's a surefire way to lose all the votes.
And you're not even in a position to be a swing vote at this point.
Yeah, it was just, if she didn't, she could have played double agent and then stayed with them, and it would have made things much more simpler. Mm-hmm. Although apparently, I can't remember where I read this, but apparently there's a secret scene or something where Julia says that she had to win immunity because she knew Aubrey was targeting her. So that's another strike against Aubrey. She's not even that subtle that Julia knew she was going home. Yeah, Jordan, what are you thinking of poor old Julia? I'm not a fan of her. either. I don't even think she's that compelling of a character, but I know Kristen loves.
Julia, I go by edit a lot, and until episode 5 or 6, probably 6, I had no idea who Julia was. I mean, I knew she was on the show, I knew she was 18 years old, but there was nothing else that they talked about her. Even the episode where she was alone on the Bronze Beach, they spent a minute and a half on her, and it was only about her talking about, how she's not feeling well and she's not coping with the elements. I think we can rule out a Julia win in terms of the edit, and even she's not playing the game very well. I mean, she's playing both sides. She's doing the, I think Dolly did it in Vanuatu, and a couple other people I can't think of right now. But I think people who play both sides are really unpopular. They're wishy-washy. Kelly Wigglesworth did it in Borneo too. And they really, I don't think they have a chance to win. Jury members are saying, "Oh, we thought
Flippers
you
never win," to quote Dan Foley, who is going to be the recap guest tomorrow. Sorry, I just had to get that plug out there.
And then, I think a lot of jury members are like, "You said you were with us, and you weren't with us." And other people are saying, "Oh, you said you were with us, and you voted with them." So, Julia's chances of winning, I think, are next to nothing. And as far as her making the right moves, I was definitely a little surprised that she voted out Debbie. And I thought she would team up with the men. She said she was going to team up with the men after that reward. She told the plan to the men. Debbie said, "We're going to split the votes between Jason and Ty," and Julia went right to, I think, Scott and said, "We're going to split the votes between Jason and Ty." So she's clearly playing both sides, and
someone doesn't like
and she's clearing. So
is there an elephant in the room?
I'm sorry, I just blew my nose and I took my headphones out thinking you wouldn't hear it.
We have.
Sorry.
Edit point.
So
no edit.
I don't think Julia has a chance to win. If it's a final two between her and Scott, maybe, but other than that, I don't think she can win.
All right, let's go to the Tribal Council because we don't have much time. We're going to kind of rush through this, but great Tribal Council. The theatrics with Jason, Scott, and Jason and Scott were great, even though, as I said, they really had nothing to do with this vote. It caused some scrambling, but they were off on their own little world, doing their own theatrics, Three Amigos thing, and really the whole time they were voting for Debbie. And very fascinating. You have to imagine Julia must have talked to them, the fact that they did not play the idol, which just... It blows my mind how we got through this episode of these people sabotaging the camp, how Aubrey lost one of her allies, and 2 idols are still in play on the opposite alliance. I'm still a bit confused how this even happened. But really entertaining. Debbie goes, we'll talk about the Tribal Council and we can couple it with Debbie too. My favourite player of the season after Peter left. Yes, laugh at me all you want. Peter was my favourite player of the season. Bring on the hate. But she was just so entertaining, and Ty and Debbie are kind of the 2 characters, and I like Ty, but Debbie is a different player altogether, and I really hope we see her again. I do think this season will take a hit. We've lost Peter and Debbie. There's still some good over-the-top characters, or not even over-the-top, just some good characters. But I do think going forward, Debbie was that kind of character that you need in a season. And now that she's gone, it's just going to be like, Scott and Jason being mean and tired, being good or bad. Aubrey complaining about losing a challenge. I don't know. I feel like we're going to suffer from Debbie going, and this could be a maybe lackluster ending to the season, but of course it remains to be seen, because it could be the best season ever going forward. You never know. It's been an unpredictable one. So great tribal council, very sad outcome. I think I was almost screaming in that university silent area library after that happened. And I was fuming that Debbie was voted out. So Chris, tribal council and a bit of a eulogy for Debbie. I'm guessing that you were a fan of Debbie.
I was a fan of Debbie. I loved her different occupations. I loved how animated she was about everything going on in the game, even if it wasn't good for her. I did read in post interviews, apparently she said she knew she was going home or something, which I felt is so Debbie. Like, you make it a blind side, and then she's even like, nope, I knew I was going home. I always knew.
Although based on Aubrey, maybe she did know.
I thought it was very entertaining, and I feel like if there's anything about the Super Idol, I feel we can at least appreciate that it ended up in people that will use it in an entertaining way. Like, I feel like if Michelle and Julia had it, they would just like sit there primly and not say anything about the Super Idol. At least you have these guys that are like putting it out there and making this very chaotic tribal council happen. So I really liked that happened, and even though like the vote is kind of sad and not unexpected, I feel like overall it was a solid tribal council that is very memorable, and I feel like is something that I feel would be a highlight of the season, more so just for how chaotic what was going on and not really for the results. And rest in peace, Debbie.
Yeah, very
Survivor Debbie. I mean, she's not dead. She almost died.
Yeah, and not Deb Eaton either. She's still trucking. Was she your favourite of this season? Just side note.
I wouldn't say she was my favorite. I don't really have a favorite at this moment. Well, I mean, I don't really have a favorite, but I liked her. I would have liked her to be there.
One thing about Debbie is I do feel like as the conditions got worse, her character did diminish a bit compared to those early days when she's talking about the water and we need to move of a purpose, Joe. And it's going to be trouble when we get home, kids. Like, I feel like she did diminish as a character a bit just because of the elements, but still great. Jordan, tribal council craziness, and Debbie is gone.
Yeah, I think with the tribal council, so many comparisons I've heard to the Three Amigos tribal council, and more recently the Mike Holloway and Shireen tribal council. I think these guys, I don't know what the rule is about how, at what point can you combine the idols to make a super idol. I guess the way they played that is it has to be before the votes are read to be in that person's possession. So if Ty got the most votes, he would be safe. And they can't like combine the two idols after. I mean, they have to combine them before the votes are read instead of, hey, Jason, give me your idol, because I'm going home if I'm not. And of course, Jason wouldn't give Ty his idol, but yeah, I'm guessing it has to be they have to be together before the votes are read. But still, not as it was dramatic, but depending on the rules of the idol, I don't know if it could have been played any better. It was a decent bluff between the rock paper scissors, just to see if they can get a different split vote out of the women's plus Joe alliance. And with Debbie as a character, did definitely really like her pre-merge, with her changing occupations. Chemist, waitress, caretaker, part-time model. It was very funny, and I do agree with. I think Colin said it, that she her character diminished as the conditions got worse, and I think especially after she went down in the reward challenge where Caleb was medevac, she was definitely better on the Brains tribe and post or pre-swap, and probably sad to see her go, but I think her character had been played out already. I don't know how good of a chance she had to win, but I think she was, like Aubrey said, she was either. Aubrey said Debbie was an emotional player. I don't know if she was, but she was very, open about what was going on, and she was telling the entire group, "Here's the plan," and without consulting anyone first, like Laura B did in Blood versus Water. I think that was the same kind of thing that Debbie did, and sad to see her go. But I'm not surprised that she didn't make it to the end.
Bring back Laura B.
Yeah,
I love Laura B. I don't know. I feel like we had a few more episodes worth of Debbie, even if she wasn't going to be the winner. Colin, Debbie winner is not Debbie winner.
I just want to start off by saying we should have Ben's videos from his reality rally and travels around North America soon. There's a very good video that's going to be coming out at the completely wrong time that Ben took with me and Papa Smurf from Fiji, where he was asking us our predictions on the current season, and Ben went into why Debbie was going to win, and Papa Smurf basically laughed at him and mocked him for 5 minutes of the video. And I can't wait for Ben to put that up a few days after she's voted
Papa
out.
Smurf, the Survivor guru.
Yes. But you know what? Like, honestly, Debbie isn't the type of character who wins Survivor. And I think there was a point in the season where we thought that she was the only person who could win. And that just shows how messed up this season is, for better or worse. We really can't tell until the season's over. I'm disappointed she's gone because she was kind of the last big character we have. I mean, Ty is a big character, but in a different way. I mean, Debbie was your classic ridiculous over-the-top Survivor character, and maybe it is. We've speculated a lot about whether the elements are costing us from these big characters like Aubrey, like Neil, and in a way I think it did cost us a bit of Debbie, but yeah, I would have loved to have had her there right to the end, and I think that she was an easy goat for somebody, or
Aubrey! She was loyal to Aubrey!
Yeah, like Aubrey, as we said, Aubrey should have kept Debbie. I don't understand the logic behind that.
Aubrey, Debbie, Joe. Aubrey probably wins that.
I think she guarantees wins that.
And Aubrey's not turning on... Debbie's not turning on Aubrey or Joe.
Yeah, it's like all around, it was just a sad situation that Debbie was the one who ended up being targeted. I'm happy only in that this pretty much guarantees my prediction that Sydney's going to win. I don't see anybody else having a shot. I don't think that there's that much competition for her anymore. But please, let's bring back Debbie again. Overall, this whole tribal thing, it's a bit of a downer that it did cost us Debbie, but I'm pretty much guaranteeing she is going to be back at some point, probably very soon.
It would be devastating if she did a Shambo. We never saw from her again.
I think she's coming back.
Yeah.
Let's get into some of these closing questions that we do on the Oztopsy, but not the Ozlet show, I don't think. So, very exclusive here. Who is going to win this game? And I'll start with you, Colin, because you literally just told us.
You could have skipped me because I just gave my answer. Sydney.
Well, you might have said Sydney, but this could have happened, but you're very staunch in the fact that Sydney.
I'm not moving for that at all. I don't see anybody other than Sydney winning.
Chris, who's going to win the game?
I want to say Sydney, but there's kind of like there's this movement out there that is saying Michelle is going to win, around.
Yes, I've seen
and
that.
We've discussed
I kind of want to say she would, because I kind of am anticipating that a lot of these big characters are going to take each other out. And I kind of feel like Michelle kind of has that like Danny Boatwright thing going on, where she's just kind of just sitting back and just not really doing over the top, just kind of doing what's necessary. So because Colin's already said Sydney, I kind of would like to throw out there that there is a chance. I feel like Michelle has a chance that she could win, in my opinion. But it's kind of like a movement out there. No, I don't really have much explanation. Yeah. It's just kind of out there.
I've seen the movement. I would put Michelle up there. She's not my pick. I would put her up there just on pure lack of other choices. But the one dumb thing I see about that movement that I disagree with, people will disagree with me, is Michelle gets all these random confessionals that just have nothing to do with anything, but they're just showing her. And that means she's going to win because she's talking randomly about the chicken or the challenge. Aubrey is the one who's always getting random confessionals, if anyone. I just...
Not to
grasping
mention,
at straws.
Doesn't that describe like Carter from Philippines or Brett from Samoa?
Like, I'm not saying Michelle can't win, but that is like people's main argument for Michelle is she's getting random confessionals, so that's why she'll win. Anyway, calm down. Jordan, who's going to win?
Oh man, I have.
Another perfect way to sum up the season. Oh man,
yeah.
I'm telling you, no one's going to win. The jury's just going to quit.
I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I'm gonna say tie.
I could see it. I'm just going to say Sydney, but really at this point, it's just there is no one clear winner. But I would be surprised if it's not Aubrey, Sydney, Michelle, or Ty. If it's someone out of that, I would be kind of shocked. Jordan, who is the dark horse? Who could sneak through and take it?
I'm gonna have to say Michelle. I'm just gonna have to. I'm gonna say. Well, if you go back to the tribe swap, and the beauties were on 3 different beaches with Anna, and then Michelle, and then Julia on all by herself. It wasn't when as the show went to commercial. It wasn't. They gave a confessional about beauties. It wasn't Anna who was the eventual boot of the episode. It wasn't Julia who was going by herself to Braun Beach. It was Michelle who they showed giving the confessional. And from that point, even before I saw the movement or whatever it was online that maybe Michelle could win, I'm like, why are they showing Michelle? And I think she probably has a big role still to play in this season. If she's not the winner, she probably has an impact down the stretch here. I don't think she's going anywhere for a while. I think she's my dark horse to win.
I've got nothing against Michelle, but I do think that would be a disappointing winner.
Yeah.
Chris, dark horse, you said Michelle as the winner, but who could sneak through?
I would still say Michelle, because there's still kind of more yet to see, or more yet to play out.
Could Jason win?
No.
All right, that probably sums that up.
Yeah.
No. Colin, dark horse.
If Jason gets if Jason gets to the end with like Scott or Julia, I think he's got a more compelling story than either of them because his daughter has autism. I'm just going to put that out there.
Yeah, that's his one thing going for him. Colin, dark horse.
As much as I said it would be the most ridiculous winner ever and the hardest thing to explain, I'm going to go with Ty just because him and Sydney are the only ones that the show hasn't gone out of the way to show being kind of negative or dumb, which seems strange because I guess they have gone their way, but and the whole dark side thing. But even still, he comes out cleaner than any other winner this season other than Sydney, I think.
Yeah, I'll say for mine, Ty, only because and Michelle was up the Michelle movement. But Ty, because I can easily see him going next week or 5th in the final episode or something. But if Ty wins, you'll look back at episode 1, you can clearly see they were setting him up, and then last week I think it was with the over the top challenge, and I'm calling Buddha, and I'm pushing so hard, and Ty's internal struggle of should he go to the dark side, should he stay with the light. If he was the winner, you could look back and say, oh yeah, definitely building his character as a winner. But yeah, he was the dark horse. So, Colin, who's going to go next? Who knows at this point?
Yeah, I'm going to bet on Julia just because she was a clear target this week, and I don't think that Sydney and Aubrey and anybody else are going to let her get by any further. When the numbers get closer now, I mean, I was saying how dumb it is to try to switch an alliance so you can become one of 4 when you're 1 of 6. It's getting closer to the point where she would be a swing vote, so you take her out now before she has that chance.
If she does go next, she completely brought that upon herself.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there was a quote by Nick at the end of the Tribal Council. It was a subtitle when he was talking to Neil. He said, "Oh, none of the guys are going anywhere anytime soon," and that could have just been a random comment, but you could also look at that as, well, maybe it's not going to be a guy going next.
It's also Nick talking.
Yeah. Good old Nick. Chris,
something we're not that familiar with, Nick talking.
Yeah. Chris, who's out next?
I don't know. It's this freaking Super Idol. I just don't know. I feel like if it continues to go down this like unpredictable route, and then something happens, like maybe like they vote out one of the 3, and then one of them, like Ty, decides I'm going to go back to the hero side and chooses not to play it. It's like, but that's like a huge leap, so I don't know. So I feel like maybe considering Julia's spot, maybe Aubrey might be going next, but I don't know. I would like to see what would happen if like one of them decides not to give up the idol, because that would be an interesting tribal council.
Yeah, I think Aubrey going next would be hilarious, but again, that's just me, the only one in the world who isn't a fan. Jordan, who's out now?
I'm gonna say Scott.
That is a potential, because would they play the idol for Scott?
I don't think so.
What are the other questions?
Yeah. Ty. I think Jason would be more likely to swindle the idol from Ty, and Scott is just someone who Jason can easily turn his back on, and Ty really doesn't like. So, and nobody likes Scott at all, I don't think.
Yeah. Well, not now, except for Julie. So,
right.
I know we've already asked Colin this. Chris, are you a brain or a brawn or a beauty?
Probably brain. I'm not that pretty. And I'm pretty bony, so I don't have any brawn.
So is Alicia.
I guess I guess I'm a little sassy and feisty, so maybe you could say I'm a brawn, but I'd probably go to brain by default.
Yeah. I'm a Dara, or whatever the merged tribe is called.
Just a blend of everything.
Yeah.
Or just a really dumb player, whichever way you want to look at it.
Yeah, which everyone on Dara is a really dumb player. Which player this week played most like you? My favourite question, Colin. There's no answer without calling yourself dumb, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Joe. I'd probably just get stubborn and not want to play with people like this.
Joe's a good one, because if someone poured out the water, I'd just, why are you doing that? And I love Joe's comment, it's the game, what do you mean turning on you? Which is really good. Chris, who this week, or even as a whole this season, because you haven't been on them, played most like you?
Probably Aubrey.
Is that because you would turn on your allies? Or, or are you talking as a whole?
I think as a whole, because I just see myself like, go to Cambodia, and then it just gets too hot, and then I'm just crying, and then
That would be
and then I like the ocean, so I guess I become a good swimmer, and then I get super strategic later on, and then turn on my allies. I don't know.
Yeah, I would be Aubrey too, I think, because people would be complaining about my neuroses when I'm playing the game. And I would be saying, oh, I wish you could meet me in real life. Jordan, who was like you this week?
When anyone ever says Dara, I think of Dara from Pearl Islands automatically, but I don't know.
The most memorable player of all time.
Yes. But no.
Good one.
I am going to have to say Joe. Because I'm a shy person. I don't think he is... I mean, I would sit out of the challenge, like I said. And, yeah, he's...
And you're also 72?
Yes, I'm 72.
You're doing better than Joe is for his age.
Pretty good shape.
So, yeah. I would say Joe.
Alright, I think that's the first Joe we've had. Although I think I've been Joe one week.
Well, I said Joe like 2 minutes ago. I don't know if it's the first.
Did you?
Yeah, you commented on it too.
Bring back Ben. Alright, that's all of the questions. Just some wrapping up things. Colin, we had an apple eater. Tiggy Ranger.
Tiggy
the mango
Ranger.
curry, the dip. He succeeded.
And his plating is fantastic. Somebody needs to hire this guy at a restaurant.
Yeah. Great presentation there. I noticed no one did my apple again. They always do Colin's one. But I think that means you had to eat macaroni, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'll have to go back and listen to the episode to find out exactly what it was. What was it? Macaroni and cheese, eating it on an apple, but also macaroni and cheese with applesauce. So I'll prepare 2 dishes by next week.
And I want to see good presentation like Tiggy Ranger.
Yeah, I'm gonna be competing with Tiggy Ranger here for our spot on Master Chef.
Yeah. So that's the next one, Tiggy Ranger. And none of this ordering from God knows where. You can just go to wherever and buy some mac and cheese and some apples. I don't know if you've been listening to the Oztopsy. You're probably completely confused as to what the hell we're talking about right now.
No, I remember the one where I thought I heard something about an apple pie.
Yeah.
Yeah, when Ben leaves, we just have Noah
Get really
and Colin.
hungry.
End of episode apple recipes. And mine was sausages.
This morning.
Chocolate what?
It's like chocolate babka. It's like a loaf of bread, but it's got that like swirly thing, and it's like chocolate on the inside. It's pretty good. It's sweet.
It sounds good, but I've never heard of chocolate babka.
Is it good with tuna salad on it? That's the question.
Oh, I'm not much of a tuna person, so
Well,
I haven't tried
that was
it.
our
But maybe I will now.
It was apples with tuna salad on it. Was Colin's favorite snack.
Yeah.
Which is mental. And now we've got the
Not
mac
according
and
to
cheese.
Tiggy Ranger, it wasn't mental.
No, he liked it. And then sausages with fried apples in a hot dog bun. No one's done mine. Colin, I've got a new one for this week. I'm not sure if you came prepared.
No, because I was still behind from last week.
Yeah, we're still waiting for the mac and cheese, Tiggy Ranger. And anyone else who wants to try it. It's not just Tiggy Ranger. You're competing for a prize here. The prize is 1 like from Noah Groves at Oslo. No.
You will be friended by Noah Groves on Facebook.
You're competing for a big prize here. Mine this week is, I came up with this one and then I thought, well, it's a bit over the top and you probably need to be a chef to do it or at least know how to make it. Mine was stewed apple sushi.
Oh!
You get the rice and instead of the filling, like you have whatever in sushi, chicken or tuna, or prawns or whatever, you have stewed apple in the middle and then you wrap it in the seaweed. But I thought, well, no one's going to actually do that because that's too hard. So mine is apple slices with wasabi spread on them.
Yes.
And if you're really hardcore, you dip them in soy sauce. So how about that, Colin?
I will do an apple slice with wasabi. And yeah, there will be evidence of it. That will be done before the end of the season. It's on my list because I will try that.
I like wasabi. I like apples. I like sushi, but I'm not sure about wasabi apples. But add that to the list, Colin and Targi Ranger and anyone else. So there's apple recipe of the week. Chris, are we crazy?
No, you're just adventurous.
Adventurous. We'll go with that. So that's it. As I said earlier, Dan Foley, the great Dan Foley, at, what is it? Chicks Dig Me. I think his Twitter handle is.
Male escort.
Yeah, a part of Team Survivor Oz at Reality. He will be on the show, Colin, so that's exciting. No Ozlet show, we're combining it this week. So that's that. Subscribe. Facebook. I'll give you a friend request if you eat wasabi. Yes, Colin.
If you want to be like Chris, you can also appear on the Ozlet Show or Oztopsy, depending on how much time we have that week.
And if you message us, we're not messaging you. You have to eat wasabi apples to get in.
Yeah.
I don't think people care that much.
Speaking
of, next time if you want to come on, Chris, you've got a lot of tasks. Buy a bag of apples. But yeah, speaking of being like Chris, thanks for joining us. I think you succeeded. It was good. We like to have the fans on, and you have to come back and visit us sometime.
Yay, I love it.
Was this your first ever podcast, or have you done some podcasts?
No, this is my first one. I tend to just watch Survivor, not really. I tweet occasionally, but that's not the same.
You're also
debut.
You're also beating Ben in screen time for the season on Survivor Oz.
No, you did very well. Great podcast debut. And Jordan, normally I don't speak with the Ozlets because of the hashtag reboot, but thanks for joining for this week.
Yeah, always a pleasure, and Chris, good to have you.
Thank you.
And I hope you're enjoying The Amazing Race, Jordan, because I certainly have no idea what it's like. And Colin, thanks for being me for another week.
Yeah, and thanks for going out on the line. Normally I don't speak to Ozlets, so he was gracing us with his presence this week, everybody. So thank you, Noah.
Well, I miss it sometimes. I feel like you're all having fun with the Ozlet show. No one's ever invited me onto the Ozlet show before. Yeah, it's a very sad story. It's as if I don't even talk enough as it is. People can just struggle to even get me to say a word. But yeah, Colin, you've got your wasabi apples and your mac and cheese and Target and anyone else. Chris, if you're feeling ridiculous. But until next time, we'll be back for hopefully an Ozlet show, a recap, and an Oztopsy for episode 10 of Survivor Kaoh Rong. And maybe, who knows, Ben will be there, but he needs to get to the end and win the jury vote before he rejoins us. So until next time, we'll speak to you on the trails. Goodbye.